Today I'm joined by Lel Smits, Managing Director of the Stock Network. In the world today, we're seeing more and more people own shares either directly or indirectly through their super. Maximising returns has a high correlation with investor education and knowledge. To find out more, I'm joined by Lel Smits, Managing Director of the Stock Network. Great to have you on HotCopper, Lel.
Thank you so much for having me on. This is a topic I'm so passionate about because it's not something that I had growing up. So, investor education is about building the knowledge, confidence, and really the decision making skills that investors need to take control of their financial futures. So, when you build your investor education, you really have the ability to understand risks and rights and responsibilities, all the things that come with investing responsibly in shares and, of course, other assets. And really, whether you're just starting out or managing a portfolio, education is what is going to give you those very important tools to invest with the clarity that you need and to limit or minimize the confusion.
And to what extent do you feel that there's a correlation between investor education and superior investment returns?
That's a really important question because one of my favorite quotes is that investment pays the best dividends. Of course, speaking from my personal experience, education is absolutely everything. And of course, education is not just listening to your friend on or the word on the street. It's actually taking a very serious and structured approach to seeking out the right, correct, compliant information, going to the source and treating your education as an ongoing passion and a project to improve your returns, I would say without doubt. And of course, I think the professionals would say as well, there is a very direct correlation between how much you educate yourself and the extent of your returns.
So here in HotCopper, we are Australia's largest stock trading and investor forum. Where can the investors go to get some of these tools that can help them achieve success in investing?
HotCopper, of course, everyone knows, and that it's a wonderful community that you have built. There are so many organizations that exist in Australia and abroad. For me, I think a point that I mentioned before was the credibility. So I personally can't go past the ASX when it comes to going to the source. The ASX, of course, is where the announcements themselves go. And it is, they also have got many independent educational resources. Even when it comes to actually educating yourself about the companies themselves, you'd be amazed how much information companies themselves have on their website. However, when it comes to more independent education, I'm also a director of the Australian Shareholders Association. So they're a not-for-profit group that are the voice of all retail shareholders in Australia. More than 65 years they've been advocating for shareholders, and they even have a weekly investor update newsletter for free. So tools such as those I'd recommend are wonderful for staying up to date with all of the latest developments that are from very credible sources.
And where do you see AI fitting into the picture when it comes to investment education?
Yeah, AI is already reshaping how we invest. So everything from scanning financial reports to predicting earnings trends. Of course, we have to be all very careful when it comes to AI to double check, cross check all the information we're receiving. But for everyday investors, I think it's a great tool to firstly understand and use and see how it can benefit, perhaps to personalize education by recommending content that's based on your interests or your holdings, or even speeding up the analysis that you need by asking it to summarize or highlight opportunities through data trends across various different sectors.
When you look at the Australian financial services industry, is there anything more that you feel can be done to boost investor education?
There is always more that can be done. And personally, for me, being the founder and managing director of the Stock Network, I founded that because I felt that there was, in fact, following on from your question on AI, in many ways, while AI is a wonderful tool, it's also given us this saturation of content that's very difficult to disseminate in an easy way. And I have really gone the opposite direction and providing education through speaking to people such as you are, people with authority, credibility, education, and experience. And in the case that you also do with CEOs, to actually hear from the people themselves in a verified, personable, content format, what information is. And I think what we are going to come up with more as a challenge in society is verifying where information is coming from with the increase of AI. And that, of course, is going to really push us to go towards more authentic sources, credible sources. And humans, human faces, as yet, can't be replicated when it comes to speaking about investors and investments and companies themselves. And I think really staying focused on the link between humans and education is also vital.
And when you look at the industry as a whole, Lel, what's around the corner in terms of investor education? How are you looking at growing your business and having that positive influence on the industry?
Very true. Investor education, it's becoming way more accessible in real time and also digitally driven. And so from this, we are seeing that shift from those static ASX announcements, the PDFs, to things that we certainly at the Stock Network are embracing: short form videos, interactive tools, social learning, and all from verified sources. So you're even seeing that social media platforms increasingly are verifying their users. And we want to hear from people that we know and are familiar with. And I really think that this next frontier will be AI powered, of course, but it will have the emphasis on verified authenticity. There may also be some other interesting things that come through. You can see gamified learning is something that we're already seeing in younger generations to teach them maths and spelling. It will be interesting to see how that translates to investors. And increasingly, of course, on demand platforms that are bringing communities together, I think will continue to grow, but the focus really will increasingly be on the governance to ensure that when we're growing our investing, we're doing so in the most responsible and effective way.
Lel, thanks for joining us on HotCopper's Expert Exchange.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.